Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. My name is Norsyazlin Rosli. I'm from UiT and Perak branch. My conference presentation title is Mapping the Carbon Sequestration of Mature Tree for Landscape Planning and Management using GIS, a case study of Hospital Gerik Perak. The content of this presentation is problem statement, significance of study, methodology, analysis and discussion, and findings. Based on observation in the study area, the existing trees are not managed well, thus the matured trees will eventually have to be cut down and replaced with young trees. The amount of carbon sequestration will be reduced due to the absence of matured trees. So, GIS application can improve the landscape planning process and achieve the amounts or outcome in present information system for future reference as part of environmental information or decision support system. While previous study has addressed the use of GIS in landscape planning, there has been a lack of emphasis on the implementation of mapping the carbon sequestration of mature trees, especially in health facilities. Health facilities are significant energy user because they are dependent on a continuous and reliable energy supply to operate both medical and non-medical equipment. According to Carbon Neutral Healthcare Facilities Blueprint 2023, health facility is responsible for 4 to 5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Trees are one of the elements in the natural system that are involved in the processing of biological sequestration, where they absorb the carbon and store it in their leaf, branch and stem in servicing toward carbon neutrality. It is one method of reducing of amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that the global of reducing global climate change. In this study area, the total carbon sequestration for 49 of trees is 172.6. The result of carbon sequestration by mature trees in the study area proved that quantity does not represent quality by showing 4 mature trees have higher carbon sequestration than 45 young trees. One of the way to improve the landscape planning process and achieve the outcomes in present information system for future reference or as part of environmental information or decision support system by using GIS application. The methodology consists of data collection that implement primary data collection techniques. So there are 2 groups of trees were used for data collection, which the young trees with diameter at breast height or DBH less than 75 cm and mature trees with DBH is more than 75 cm. This study include collecting measurements of trees height, DBH and coordination. Next, the studies apply chance ERD notation for illustrating and developing the database structure. For spatial mapping and analysis using GIS software, the studies were referred to DENG 2011 in establishing a technical framework of GIS. The study only focusing on mapping the carbon sequestration of mature trees. There are 45 or 49 trees were considered young trees because the DBH was less than 75 cm, and another 4 trees were considered mature because their DBH was more than 75 cm. By using tree inventory data through the identification of tree species and measuring tree height with the classification of tree DBH, the study was illustrating and formulates the database structure based on 3 main stages that can be used by the management of landscape planning for monitoring work. There are 3 stages of formulating database structure using ERD that consists of spatial and attribute data that can be used by the management of landscape planning for monitoring works. So stage 1 is identifying the type of data required. So in creating spatial and attribute data of trees and carbon sequestration, it is necessary to categorize the tree based on DBH. So the table shows the tree data and carbon sequestration according to the group of trees categories that required in formulating ERD. Stage 2 is forming entities and attribute. The structure of the trees and carbon sequestration database require 4 entities and their related attribute. So using method of ERD diagram proposed by Chen can simplify transforming the entities and attribute using symbols. So this method not only specify and clarify an illustration of data, but also assist in its processing as shown in figure. Stage 3 is identifying the relationship between the entities of tree data and carbon sequestration. This stage is to determine the type of relationship that exists between the two entities. When an attribute of one entity is connected to the attribute of another entity, a relationship exists between those two entities. So the significance of the relationship is linked with that of the verb that connect two nouns or entity. In this study, the database structure represents the relationship as carbon sequestration as shown in figure. There are 4 steps of evaluating and mapping the spatial attribute to establish a technical framework of GIS spatial mapping and analysis using GIS software. So step 1 is identification of study area. Hospital grid was chosen as the study area because the health facilities are significant energy user because they are dependent on the continuous and reliable energy supply to operate both medical and non-medical equipment. Although the health facilities are positioned to be at the frontliner of the global battle against climate change as a first responder, it is additionally a contributor to the issues in an unexpected way. So total acreage of the study area is 3.22 hectares, including a development area or building of 1.83 hectares and a green area of 1.39 hectares. So the site boundary was identified and the tree inventory has been classified through the inventory phase. Step 2, data collection and database development. In this study, depending on primary data collection, which is tree identification and characteristic, were defined as group of 3 categories: scientific names, common names, number of tree, diameter of tree, and height of tree as shown in table. So we divided into 2 group of tree, which are young and mature trees. According to trees identification and characteristic in the study area, there are total of 14 tree species. The use of GIS offer the mapping of the spatial distribution of tree identification and characteristic, which can then be analysed in more detail. All the data of trees identification and characteristic were input into the layer as the attributes in GIS software. So the figure shows the database development using map info. Step 3, carbon sequestration amount estimation for mature tree. In this study, cutoff formula was implemented where tree inventory was managed to calculate the amount of carbon sequestration where existing tree in the study area. This study only focused on carbon sequestration of mature trees database development and spatial analysis mapping. It has been determined by analysis on the data that the 4 mature trees that have been found in the study area are from 3 different species as shown in table. Based on the data, it can be concluded that the species Samaniasaman has the maximum capacity of carbon sequestration. The spatial distribution of carbon sequestration for mature trees is mapped using GIS so that further analysis. Next, the study used GIS software, MapInfo, for the step of evaluation and mapping in performing spatial analysis and carbon sequestration database that consists of spatial and attribute data of mature trees at hospital grid. Then the carbon sequestration value and trees identification and characteristic data for mature trees were inserted in MapInfo to visualize and mapping the distribution of tree and to produce the spatial analysis. To represent trees identification and characteristic of carbon sequestration spatial data, point features were used to digitize and locate the mature trees in hybrid base map, and they are named as some new layer as tree data mature trees and carbon sequestration mature trees. Indirectly, attribute fields are created to describe the provide and information about spatial data, which are tree and carbon sequestration data for mature trees. As part of its overall management of health facilities, these studies will encourage hospital management to practice and implement landscape planning and management. The strategy that is based on GIS has several benefits. It can conduct the distribution of tree data and carbon sequestration value in hospital grid. According to the findings of the study area value and mapping, An approach which is based on GIS can be considered feasible and reasonable. Based on the age of tree growth, 45 trees are enough to generate extra carbon sequestration in the research area over the following 5 years. It is essential to include landscape planning and maintenance into the green infrastructure to encourage a cleaner and more sustainable environment. As far of its overall management of the health facility, in this study will encourage hospital management to practice and implement landscape planning and management. That's all for me. Thank you.